Hi there, this is Floating in Dreams. These are my end of year favorites, part 1. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. This is the kickoff for my end of year favorites. In the next couple of videos, I will be sharing with you all of the products that I either use the most, that I discovered this year, or that I just really enjoy using. And I've decided to cut this into 4 parts. Today is part 1, which is going to be like foundation, concealer, and other type of base products. I'm going to have an episode featuring all of my cheek products, and then I'm going to have a video with lips and a video with eyes. So there's that. I didn't try as much new makeup as I have done in other years. So I don't have only new things in these favorites videos. Sometimes I have done that in the past, but I just haven't been trying as much new makeup, would you believe it or not? And especially in this episode where we're going to be talking about base products, I have tried quite possibly the least new products than I ever have. So let me get to my top 10 favorite products that I used in 2025 in terms of foundation, concealer, powder, primer, all of that jazz. How can you tell that something is a favorite? If you've used something up several times. So this is an empty one. I took this one out of my bathroom. I'm going to be filming my entire beauty empties for you in January. So if you want to know what like other makeup products I've used up, I've put a couple of them in these favorites videos, but definitely not all of them. But the Pretty Fresh Setting Spray by ColourPop is something that I use up and immediately replace again in my makeup collection. It's the only setting spray I use, and I don't feel the need to be trying loads of other setting sprays, so this is the only one I'm using, truth be told. So yeah, you can expect me to use up another one of these very soon, because the current bottle I'm working on is about halfway done. I got 4 of them for backup in the Black Friday sale last year, and I know quite possibly that I won't have to repurchase this until Black Friday 2026. Because this is a setting spray that lasts me a pretty good while. I have found with setting sprays that you can get through them really quickly, and especially something like I've tried the Charlotte Tilbury, and I've tried the Milk, and I've tried some MAC Fix Plus in my day. I've tried a lot of them from Essence and Catrice, and while a lot of them are good, Urban Decay All Nighter of course, that I find a little too intense. So I'm not a huge fan of the All Nighter. I've got dry skin, so for me to be using such a sort of like hairspray for your face kind of product isn't for me. I need something that's hydrating and that is going to just melt my makeup together, and I don't really need setting spray for longevity. I feel there's other things you can do in your makeup routine to make your makeup last longer. I just like the way my makeup feels and looks after using setting spray, and this has been working for me for quite some time now. I think this is the 2nd or 3rd year in a row where pretty much the only setting spray I've used is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh, so you knew it had to go in here. I'm not a huge powder reviewer because of the said dried skin. I struggle making a lot of powders work, and I also don't feel I necessarily need a lot of powder. So for me, using up powders takes a really long time. I buy one, and if it works for me, I just use it until it's gone, and that's why I never get to try as many powders. This year, I've been focusing on the Kosas Cloud Set powder. I will not be repurchasing this because as pretty as it is, this is a known issue with this product. The cap has come off, and when I first started using this, it got a really bad case of heartpan, which I was able to scrape through, and then I've been using it, and it's been absolutely fine. But you can still see it a little bit here where I haven't been able to work my way through the hard pan yet. And you can see I've hit pan on this. There was a nice little well in this. There still kind of is. But what I didn't realize before starting to use this is that the pan is flush with the plastic container that it's actually in. So I'm really afraid to break it, especially now that the packaging is no longer closing very well. As I was grabbing it out of my drawer to feature it in this video today, it came apart, and I already snagged it with the little hinge that remains of it with the lid right here in the side. So I don't know how long this is going to last in my makeup collection. I hate it when products no longer close properly. So I have my favorite powder, which is the Kiko Milano Radiant Fusion. in backup, ready to go, and I may just want to go back to that. But for now, if I just keep it in my drawer, it's been fine. So I think I can get more use out of it and use it up completely in 2026. Because, you know, the product itself is good. Like, it's a good powder. It does what I want it to do. But I hate it if packaging doesn't work or if things hard pan this quickly. Like, it was just after just 2 weeks of use and I got this really massive hard pan. I was like, that's not supposed to happen. So I don't know what's going on there, but I do know Kosas is a clean beauty brand. So I think that may be why that happened so quickly. Some more Kosas that I tried this year, but as far as I can tell, this has already been discontinued, and this is also in my makeup empties pile. It may not look empty, but I can't, for the life of me, get any more product out. It's the Glow IV. Of course, I could cut the top off. I know that for a lot of people then constitutes things being used up. But as I already mentioned, I'm a little bit of a freak for having properly operating packaging. I don't do this with toothpaste. I don't do this with any of my products because I have found over time, back in the day where I had to do these things to get to most use out of my products, is that they then expire really quickly. And because Kosas is a clean beauty brand, it could expire before I can even use up the rest of it because there are so few preservatives in these products, which is why I actually wanted to get to some of my Kosas products this year, mainly because I was afraid they would expire before I could properly use them up. So even though this doesn't look as used, it's also been lying down flat in my bathroom, so I think it therefore doesn't look like it, but it was all the way down. And the airless pump this has is only pumping out air and no product comes out. I've been squeezing it up so that the pump would take as much out of it as I possibly could. And this was beautiful on the skin. I wish they still did this because it's really, really beautiful. I do have a couple of other glowy primers though that I can still test out or try or that I love about as much as this one. So I don't need it in my life, but it was really pretty and I enjoyed using it. It's, I think, the most glowy primer I've ever used. It's more of a highlighter, really. But I felt that when I put this on all over my lid, because of the light reflecting qualities it has, it really makes your skin look almost airbrushed. And then if you put a hydrating foundation on top, it really gave you a very nice glowy look to your foundation. So I really like this. I thought it was a beautiful product. I wish they still did it. But as I went to review this year, I could no longer find it listed anywhere. The only shades that are still available in some places are really deep shades, but the product itself is no longer listed on most websites, so that tells me that it's discontinued. For concealer, I only have 2 things, and these things did come out in 2025. At least that's when I tested them out, and as far as I know, they were released in the past year. It's a concealer from Catrice and a concealer for Kiko. I was trying to use up a concealer all year, so I knew I didn't have to try out loads of concealers this year. I tried out a lot of concealers last year, and I just knew I had to get through some of those. So I'm currently working on using up the Kiko Skin Tone Concealer. That's one that I love. That's on my face today, and that's only has a little bit left, so I think I can do it before the end of the year. But this is now my favorite concealer by Catrice. That's a bold claim. Catrice does a lot of things, but in recent years, they really hadn't made a concealer that worked for my dry skin. So something like the True Skin Concealer, I know a lot of people love. Their HD Liquid Concealer was very popular for some time, but those were all far too drying. If I put them on, everything looked so heavy and cakey and just not a good look. This comes in a decent shade range, which is also rare for Catrice. I have mine in... what's it called again? I think it's 010C. I always forget where the sticker is. Yes, 010C. And then here is the concealer itself. I'll make sure to link you to any of the reviews that I might have for these products. So if you want to see swatches and you want to see what things look like on my face, then you can. Because I can't put all of these products that I'm recommending on my face at the same time. Because not only do I have dry skin, this babe has got sensitive skin, and taking off makeup, removing it, and putting it on again is the one thing my skin cannot do. I've tried. Trust me, I've tried. It's not that I don't want to be helpful. It's just that my skin hates me if I do that too often. So I can only do it sometimes, and then most of the time, if I do it, I get a really, really bad either breakouts, redness, and my skin is angry for like the next week whenever I've tried it. So I try not to. I try to not freak out my skin, okay? So yeah, go find the review for this if you want to see what it looks like on my under eyes. This is beautiful. It's lightweight. It has a little bit of a light reflecting quality, but it still has good coverage as well because I do have dark circles, and this works really well. And my new love, the Kiko Skin Lover Concealer. This is one of the reasons why I'm trying to use up the skin tone concealer, because this is now my new favorite. This is what it looks like. I have mine in shade 1, which I think is the lightest shade. It is a touch yellow tone, but I don't mind that because I'm trying to cover up redness, and I have found that having a little bit of yellow in my concealer helps to conceal the redness a little bit better than if it was like more of a pinky tone, because pink and red don't, like, it just accentuates it rather than covers it. So that's why I don't mind having a yellow undertone in my concealer. And why this is special is because, I don't know if you can see, but this is a metal doe foot, which feels very nice and cooling and refreshing on the skin. It doesn't make for like blending or anything, but I always use a brush to blend out my concealer. But this is so, so lovely. I do still have to try it with some other foundations though, because I've mainly been trying it with the foundation of the same name, which you'll hear about in a second. And that combo has been beautiful, chef's kiss. Every single time I've used that foundation with this concealer and I'm filming videos, there's always someone in my comments going, your skin looks great today. It's these products, I swear. But I've also used it with another foundation, and that didn't go down too well. So I don't know if there's anything, because this is very sort of serum-y, skincare-like. I think because it's quite emollient, it may not work really well with other types of foundation that don't have that sort of same level of slippiness to it that this concealer has. So I do think you have to be careful with this one, what you pair it with, but this is so, so beautiful. It's very, very thin and lightweight. It still has really good coverage. It again has this brightening effect on the under eye, which I like, but it still has the coverage I need to get rid of any sort of redness as well. I think I really like it. And finally, our foundations. So like with the concealer, I haven't tried as many new foundations this year as I have in other years. I've only tried 3 new to me formulations. I've tried the Lisa Eldridge skin tint, and then the Kiko foundation I just showed you, and the Fenty Beauty foundation that I'll show you in a second. Those are the only 3 foundations I reviewed this year. I tried so many new foundations in 2024 and 2025 that I just knew I need to get to using some of these things up. So I had 2 of these in my Shop My Stash for most of the year. One of them I managed to use up, but it's been discontinued. And the other one I now know has been reformulated. So I'm really glad that I didn't get to use it up yet because now I still have a bottle to compare it to the new one if need be. But it's 2 products by Giorgio Armani. These are 2 of the older foundations that I have in my makeup collection. So I kind of knew that if I wanted to make sure I got the most use out of it, that I would probably have to try using them up this year. This one has a pump, so I feel it's less necessary to be using it up super quickly. But the Giorgio Armani Neo Nude sort of skin tint, they now do a different type of product that's called a skin tint, so I'm still curious after that if it's as good as this one is. I got mine in shade 1.5 though, and that was a shade that was never available here in the Netherlands. I had to import this from the UK. Because the Giorgio Armani skin tint at the time didn't come in a shade lighter than shade 3 over here. What's up with that? I'll do a video about that in the new year, actually, about like makeup in the Netherlands and how expensive and how little access we actually have to things, because I don't think people realize. They think I'm in Europe, so they assume that I have access to the same things as everybody else, but whether you're in Germany, the UK, France, or like the Netherlands makes a huge, huge difference to what you can buy. But yeah, the Giorgio Armani Neo Nude was really pretty. This is a great skin tint for the summertime for me. So it was usually something that I would bring in like June time when it gets super hot, no powder, very little concealer, and just a little bit of this, and then just a liquid blush. And that would be my look on like super duper hot makeup days for when I was using this product. It was excellent. But I already tried to use it up last year, didn't quite manage it, so I knew I had to commit this year, and I really did enjoy it. And also the Luminous Silk, like this was in my Shop My Stash, I think for like the most time this entire year. I think I had it in every single month where I wasn't using the Giorgio Armani. Because I knew I wasn't trying out too many new things, I could really focus on this. And when I started using it, like I've been shaking it up so you can't see, but it came down to here when I first started using it, and I've now used up enough that the line sort of comes down like between the line of Luminous Silk and the description on the bottle. So I've used up pretty much half of this bottle, which may not sound like a lot of usage, like you could have used it up, you might think, but I don't use a lot of foundation. I use half a pump up to a pump, if that. And with this, I feel I really don't need a lot to make it work for me. And this has a beautiful, like it's not as hydrating as the skin tint is. It's not as hydrating as some of the other things I'm about to show you. So I do feel that for my skin type and what I like to go for more so nowadays is something more glowy than this is. But yeah, it is a beautiful foundation. It's a good bog standard. Well, it's not bog standard because it's expensive, but for what it does for my skin, I feel it just ticks all the boxes. It's long wearing, it looks beautiful, it doesn't accentuate any dry patches, it wears all day, and I'm a teacher. So my makeup has to last a long time, and this can withstand almost anything. So long wearing, easy to use. This is in shade 3, which is a pretty good shade match for me. But I have found, especially compared to other things I've been using, that it is a little bit yellow. So that's also why I stopped using it in November, because it just became a little too yellow for me to use in the wintertime. In the wintertime, I get to be my fairest shade, and the fairer I get, the less likely I am to get away with anything that has any sort of yellow tone. In the summer, it works a little bit better for me because I do have a cool to neutral undertone. So it does work. But I do feel that when I'm at my palest in the dead of winter, this is a no-go for me. And also formula-wise, it's a no-go for me. But beautiful foundation. It's just been reformulated because there are apparently new EU regulations about certain silicones that are no longer being used in beauty products. And this is one of the victims to that reformulation. So I hope it's still as good. But that's why I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get rid of this bottle yet. Because if at some point in time I want to try the reformulated version of this, I can compare it. And then another oldie but a goodie, and I was like, okay, I haven't tried too many new things in this category, so what will I feature this year? I was like, this is my tried and true. This is my Ride or Die travel foundation, and it's the Dior Backstage foundation in shade 0N. This is what it looks like. It comes with heaps of product. It has a plastic bottle and it has 50 milliliters of product. So this is expensive, but you do get almost twice the amount of product that you get in most regular foundations. So for me, that's why it's worth it. This is super easy to use. And when I had to pack my bags to go to Japan for 3.5 weeks, where I only wore makeup like 2 days out of the entire trip, but still, if I wanted to do my makeup, I wanted to make sure I brought a solid favorite, something that I knew would work, that would work in humid weather, that I knew would last all day, no questions asked, that is really easy to control, that I can apply with fingers if need be. The Backstage. Again, more of like a satin matte sort of thing. Better for me in the summertime than any time of year, really. I need something a little bit more hydrating in the wintertime. But this is just the foundation where I'm like, yeah, if I travel and I need to bring a foundation, this is the first thing I think of. Not only because it has a plastic bottle and there's no pump, nothing that can break in your bag, it also really works on those long travel days where you may be getting up at like 7 a.m. and you don't get back to your hotel until 11 p.m. This thing works every single time, and therefore it's a favorite. And this is a favorites video, so I knew I had to feature it here. And finally, we get to the 2 foundations that I did want to feature here, that I did try this year. The minute I tested these out, I fell in love, and I know these won't be decluttered straight away because I like them that much. There is the Skin Lover foundation from Kiko, and this, like I said, goes really, really well with the concealer I've already shown you. Mine is in the shade 1CR, And also in this one, Kiko isn't known for doing good shade ranges, but this is quite possibly the first time ever where they've done more than 5 shades, I feel. This comes, I don't want to drop this all over the floor, so I'm only going to show it to you like this. If it's out of focus, I do apologize. But it comes with a dropper. The dropper is okay. Sometimes you need to squeeze out the air a little bit to be able to pick the product up again. And with this, like the Giorgio Armani, a little goes a long way. And you know what I had found? As I was testing this out, I had the Giorgio Armani in my Shop My Stash, and I was using them alternatingly the entire month. This formulation is, if the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk was a hydrating foundation, it would be this. This has the same slippy feel as the Giorgio Armani has. It has the same way of how it is applied. It's just formulation-wise, it's more hydrating than the Giorgio Armani is. And this, I'm not sure if you can see in this lighting because I have a lot of sun coming in, but you can see it's more pink toned than Giorgio Armani is. So that's why I ended up using this a little bit more in like November time, because it was just a little bit better for me than the Giorgio Armani was, because this got too yellow, this was a much better shade, and I feel that formulation-wise, this gives me the same thing as a Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk does, but more hydrating, which is what I need in the winter time. So for me, the Kiko foundation is another product where they've only released it this year. I think it came out in the springtime, and they show me again that Kiko is the brand that does high-end formulas at a drugstore price point, just so you know. So I know Kiko isn't considered drugstore everywhere because they're only sold in their standalone stores or online, depending on where you're at. But price point wise, for me, they are very similarly priced to something like L'Oreal over here or Maybelline is. So for me, this, whether I get those brands or I get this, it's the same price. So, and the Giorgio Armani is like what, 60, maybe 65 euros by now. This is 20. I rest my case. Then we have the Fenty Beauty. This is a soft lit foundation. I got this in shade 125, and I waited until I was able to find this in store. I picked it up during Black Friday last year, so this was one of the first things I tried this year. And this is beautiful. It's a beautiful shade. It's a beautiful formulation. It's hydrating enough for my skin, which was one of my issues with a lot of the Fenty Beauty like base products that I had tried. A lot of Fenty Beauty base products that we got before this line were always aimed at oily skin. It was incredibly mattifying, which if you have oily skin, that's fine. But if you're a dry gal like me, it's not gonna work. So I'm super happy that Fenty Beauty is finally starting to do some more hydrating formulas and formulas that look better on dry skin. And this is definitely one. This was still really long wearing. I tried a product, I don't remember what it was called, but I tried a product by Fenty Beauty a couple of years ago that was also this supposed to be this hydrating formula, and it transferred everywhere. Like I would wear a scarf and the scarf would be covered in makeup within seconds. I was like, that's not gonna fly. This didn't have that issue. So Fenty Beauty has definitely been working on doing some better things, and I do like this. I do think though that of everything I've tried this year that is new, like complexion wise, like I said, there were like 2 concealers and 3 foundations this year. I really didn't test out too many things. So it was the Kiko foundation for sure. Also because that is so much cheaper than this is. I mean, Fenty Beauty isn't exactly like super expensive, but it's also not super cheap. It's really that sort of Sephora price point where everything is like 35, 40 euros, which is still not cheap, but it's not Giorgio Armani expensive either, you know? So I do like Fenty Beauty from that perspective. But yeah, so far this has been really successful for me, and I think this winter I may go back to it as well. So those were all of the base products that I wanted to chat to you about that were my favorites in 2025. As I mentioned, I really didn't test out as much new stuff in this category as I have done in other years. So I worked in a couple of other products that I either used up or that I have just been liking for a very, very long time because it's a favorites video. So I also get to show you things that are just my favorites. And those are sometimes the things you use up as well. I know it may look like I'm continuously testing out new things, But that just shows me that you're not watching my Shop My Stash videos, because that's where I show you what I'm using, what I'm loving, what I'm going back to, and you will see that there's loads of products that are popping up every single couple of months. I do tend to go through products seasonally, especially with base products, because I'm so light skinned and I get so fair in the winter time. I feel my skin needs like something differently. So especially in like complexion products like foundations, but also blushes and bronzers, I just have different favorites throughout the year that go better with what my skin looks like at the time, and sort of what my climate is like as well, because I live in the Netherlands. We have 4 seasons, so my skin needs something differently in the wintertime than I do in the summertime. So, and I just rotate through everything. That's why things look very lightly used on my channel. Not because I'm not using it, but I cannot commit to like one blush for an entire year, because that blush will not look right on me for most of the year. The way it works in me, like I said, I sort of go by the seasons, it's not like it's winter, so now I use this, but I just see my skin change and my skin's like needs change throughout the year. And as the need of my skin changes, and when I start to feel things become a little bit more dry, or I get a little bit when it gets really hot, I would love to wear powder or blush and stuff like that, but it just doesn't work. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say here towards the end. I still have 3 episodes coming for you in my end of year favorite series, so I hope you like to stay tuned. The next one will be up on Saturday, so I hope to see you then. Bye bye.